So yeah, we have J. Wesley Olson here and Doug Theo.
I think that cheering was for the models and not me and Jay, is what I think that was.
Possibly. She likes.
How's everybody doing today? Everybody good? Yeah? Awesome.
What's up, Orlando? How are you guys doing? Oh, man. You guys are looking right up my high waters right now.
So what are you going to do today, Doug?
All right, guys, so I'm going to get into a little shear etching. This is something I started doing a few years ago because I'm not a barber. So sort of the comfort, like being comfortable with the clippers is not something that I really was in the beginning. So I felt like if I used my scissors to cut a straight line, I could use my scissors to cut a straight line in somebody's side shave or undercut to get a design or a certain look that I wanted. And so that's what I'm going to do today.
And Jay, what do you have?
Okay, so I notice a lot of times in the salon, you can get away with just face framing and just hitting that money piece because a lot of people like that lived-in edge. So I'm going to cruise through and I'm going to hit those money areas and I'm going to get a full service done and an application done in like half an hour and get her in and out of here. We have the new rose gold toner from Pulp Riot. What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's money, right?
That's sold out in like a couple hours at the show in the first day.
Fantastic. This is like such a nice balanced rose gold. And you can see from the levels, we got like from a 6 all the way to a 10 down here, the transition in the color and what you're going to get.
Can you say, because they're progressive, meaning the impact that they have, it increases as you leave it on longer, right? Can you talk about how long you left it on, the canvas you started with, the volume you chose?
Yeah, absolutely, Stevie. Thanks.
Thank you.
So because they're progressive and because the pigment is so heavy, it gives us a lot of options as artists, right? So within that, we can get anywhere from like a level 7 to like a level 10, depending on timing and the pigment that you mix. Like with her, I wanted a little more pigment up top, so I did a 2-to-1, which is the normal mix, and that way it's going to deposit a little bit more. And I used 6 volume. Now, on the ends, we went still with 6 volume, but I mixed it at like a 4-to-1. And what that's going to do is give me a little bit more of a sheer result. Now, I'm going to go back through and I'm going to hit these with the balayage, and then I might even get on with like the icy or silver just to give her a little dimension. I'm also going to smudge her root a little bit with our silver toner, which I'll mix 2-to-1, and that'll cut out all this warmth up here that'll flow really nice into that rose gold.
Nice.
Cool. All right, guys, so I just got kind of started on that one. You saw how quick I did that line, right? It's very small. So what the scissors do is it sort of sets you up with a guideline to then go back over with the trimmers to make the line a little bit heavier, a little bit deeper. Some of the things I like to say or ways I like to show how I do it is that you always want to take...
I love you guys.
Yeah, you always want to take your shears. Something that's like a 6 or smaller is going to be the best bet, and anything that's sharp enough to cut a straight line when you're holding hair will be sharp enough to cut a straight line on somebody's head. And just like you would with the balayage brush, you sort of want to start moving the scissors before you start cutting the line. That way, as you work your way into it, you're not going to make any hard line in the beginning or anything like that. So you saw the first one there. I'll go ahead through and do a second one just below it. I'm going to come right off of her hairline and work down through and just create another sort of shape through there. I also, as I'm doing it, I sort of like to visualize my line. So if I'm going to start here and I want to end here, I just think about where I'm going to finish, and I typically will finish right where I want to.
It reminds me a bit of when you're sectioning and you sort of like hold your finger and you bring the comb around and it sort of always will find your finger at the end of your section, right?
Yeah, similar idea. So I'm going to work right off of that line and create another line, almost like a little bit of a shape up here in the front.
And while he does that, Jay, what's happening over here?
Okay, so over here, I'm getting right into that money area. Now, I'm coming in with like a 3-point balayage, just surface coloring right on the front, and then I'm going to go under here for a little more pop, and I'm going to hit the other side. What I'm doing is I'm following the lines of my points, and I'm going to go full saturation, depending on visually where I want that pop to happen, probably right around here, because I want it a little bolder. So the reason how I do that is I take my product, which is the Pulp Riot new clay lightener. You guys got into that yet?
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic. So the precise application is dope because I can put it right on off of my board. I can put it right on the edge of my brush, and I can be very precise in where I'm putting it. So you can see that I'm just hitting these points right here. If I got too much product, I take the back of my brush and I just smooth it out very slightly. And because it's a mineral base, this lightener, it's going to stay in place. It's not going to flake. It's not going to swell. And it's going to remain processing until I get it exactly where I want it.
And what's great about the clay lightener is, unlike most clay that we've experienced in the past, it actually lifts more than like a level or two, right? So if you don't have someone that's already blonde and you still like to use clay, you can lift up to 7 levels with this. And then in addition to that, it's formulated to work with our original lightener, so you can also add the blonde AF to it and get even more of a punch and still have a lot of the features of the clay.
Yeah, I've been using it mixed 1-to-1 with the blonde AF to do my root touch-ups, because it helps sort of just control the swelling of the bleach. I still get great lift.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably wouldn't do it with like a level 5 or lower, but those 6, 7s, you know, that are a little bit lighter and easier to lift, I'd definitely do it with them. Okay, so I've got a cool little design in there. I'm sort of digging it. So now that my lines are set with the scissors, I'm going to go back through with the trimmers and just carefully etch it out a little bit more and make the line look a little bit heavier.
Perfect. And Jay, what's happening here?
I'm being very detailed in my work. I'm taking like single points, extremely detailed, if you will, because of my I am. Anyway, so taking my single points, and I'm just being visual. I'm a visual artist, so to start, when we spoke, you look directly at her. I take techniques and I create what I want, rather than just going like highlight on page number 6. You know what I mean? And as artists, what separates us is the techniques that we use, but visually where we're gonna put them, because it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly how I did it, right? And that's what, you take these techniques, you take them home, you make them your own, and you can create your own look even though we're doing the same shit, right? And that's how we separate ourselves from the artist next to us. Moving forward, I'm gonna get right up into here, and then I'll probably bring this back just a little bit and maybe even cruise into her part. I always go directly off their parts. If they go in the middle, I go off the middle. If they flip it around, I go off the middle. But typically, if they have a part that they're at, like maybe 80% of the time, I'll go directly off that part.
And is that really just so they feel like where they're seeing all the time is like particularly bright?
Can you repeat that, please?
Is it so that the place they kind of see all the time is like a bit brighter?
Absolutely, yeah. That gives her a more bold face framing. And you know, depending on where they want it, obviously, like within the consultation, you're gonna kind of go off of that too. But yeah.
All right, so you guys can see the difference there in what I did with the trimmers and what I did with the scissors, right? It's quite a bit heavier. You can really see that line. But I mean, really, as far as being a hairdresser goes, I think using the scissors to do these lines, it's easier in the beginning when you haven't had the practice with the trimmers, because one wrong move with these things and you're gonna make a mistake. But with your scissors, you can be a little bit more delicate, a little bit more flowy. You're only taking off a little bit of hair at a time, so it's something really cool to practice. And I charge for this. You know, if I have a client that comes in that like wants an undercut and wants a design, you know, that's more time in your book. I charge for it. So it's like an add-on service that you can do to anybody if they're into it.
Usually when you're doing a design, I mean, you really will give like a good half hour
Yeah, easily
on something like that.
Easily a half
so
hour.
it's definitely a full service.
And I pretty much try to fade everything. I mean, these lines and things like lines and designs, as far as, you know, my experience with it, if you don't go like a 2 or lower, you're not gonna really see the line as well. If there's too much hair there, it sort of all gets lost, you know? So I just fade. This is basically like a 1 to about a 1.5. You know, a little bit of cleanup around the edges. So it's not a super tight fade, but, you know, if someone's hair is even darker, I like to go back in and, like, I would take this part shorter in through here. So she'd have this real short area, and then you'd see this stand out and that stand out. You know, so even after you're done the design, you can go back in and do little fades within the design and make it even more detailed and kind of cool.
And do you tend to paint like if you're doing colors within those designs, do you tend to paint before you cut or vice versa?
It totally depends. If I want it to look really solid, then I probably would paint after, so that the designs are in there and then I can go through and I can paint right into the design. But if I want it to look sort of softer and more flowy and sort of like work with the hair a little bit more, I'll definitely paint it first and then put the designs on top of the paint, which can look really cool because you'll get like different colors within each different shape.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we bring out one of Jay's models from earlier where he was using this technique, and so you can see what she's going to look like later today.
Awesome.
There she is. So Jay,
Yeah.
you have anything to add for her?
What's that?
You have anything to add here?
Well, I just want to say we use the icy toner, which kind of is a lighter toner. We went with like we went icy mixed to like a 4-to-1, and that gave us a nice control, but without over-controlling, without over-toning. And we did the same technique, same balayage technique, smudge to root again with the silver and a little bit of natural with like a lot of pigment, so like almost a 1-to-1. But you can see, and then we pulled it into the icy, and that gave us a nice classic balayage blonde.
Perfect. Thank you.